The Chronicle thanks our 2023 Meet the Candidates sponsors: Ann Colton Films, Flossmoor Station Restaurant and Brewery, Jonathan Kane Salon and Spa, and Tom Brabeck Law Office. With their help, HF voters will be well informed on Election Day, April 4th.
My name is David Linnear, and I am currently running for re-election to the Flossmoor School District 161 School Board. Why am I doing this again? I'm doing this because I actually am very passionate about education. More importantly, I'm doing it because I'm representing the Flossmoor community, and I want to continue to go ahead and give a voice to those individuals and make sure that we actually have the best possible school district and school system possible. So the reserve is actually there in case there's a rainy day, in case we need to go ahead and actually have money to draw down from to continue to operate the district in a safe manner. It's a lot like you would actually have, if you actually own a home or a car or have a job, you want to have enough in abeyance in case you lose your job, in case something happens to the home. The district is the same way. So in our case, what we do is we actually have a healthy fund, healthy enough to go ahead and keep us in operation for 6 months to a year, should anything ever happen. So we can go ahead and continue to pay the teachers, keep the school open, and continue to go ahead and provide a safe environment for all the students. I sat on the long-range planning committee along with another board member, and what we really were trying to look at is what were the needs of the buildings. And to your question about and how does that directly tie into the students, that's where the challenge also comes in, because to your point, that's taxpayer dollars. And the $17 million, you kind of implying how did that come about? It was the addition of several different things. One is a bond, which is actually coming off. We need to redo that bond again. Another would be funds that we've actually gone ahead and have established and saving for. So that combination gives you the 17 million as a sort of a hard number. What we found out, though, was that in all 5 buildings, the needs were great. And so we could have easily spent $100 million and still not actually met all the needs of all the buildings. And these things actually tie back into the environment for the students, having a place for the teachers to operate, and again, safety, modernization, on and on and on. They go down to the simplest things as not enough bathrooms, not enough kitchen space, or actually not even having enough of an operational kitchen to supply all the things you need, to not having enough light, to making sure that the students were able to congregate in similar areas, to expanding the gymnasiums, to upgrading and making sure that there was handicap accessible. The list goes on and on and on and on. So what we had to do, and it was one of the most challenging parts, was try to figure out, okay, well, we have this hard number of 17 million that we're trying to stay within. How do we go ahead and get the most bang for the buck out of the 17 million, to your question again, so that we can actually go ahead and say, well, this is going to help the district, this is going to help the children. And so you're trying to meet multiple objectives. And in all cases, you really can't, because then that means something didn't get addressed this time around. It doesn't mean it's not as important, it's not necessary for the district or the children or for the teachers, but it is. And so that's where what I'm going to be fighting for if I'm reelected is to still find a way to continue to get those items that were not necessarily addressed with this first 17 million and try to have those still done. So with this first 17 million, what we're going to do again is continue to make sure that the facilities are operating properly by having the air conditioning work and having whatever facility needs are there, so that we can actually have the school open and provide all of functionality and needs. But then we're going to try to also make sure that things like at Heather Hill, the security is taken care of, so that nobody can just enter in the building without a strong resistance. And then we want to make sure that it still flows and functions properly. So those are some of the things that we're actually trying to do. Again, on this topic, I could go on and on and on. And This is just David Linnear speaking, and there are 6 of us on the board, but I also believe that one of the things that we need to look at involves an expansion at Parker. I call it a cafetorium, and you'll also hear it referred to that in meetings. So what it is that I believe that we need to change the flow of traffic at Parker during lunch and allow the gymnasiums to be used differently. More importantly, not only would I give more time for the students to eat and more time for them to properly get back to their classrooms, which again speaks directly to the amount of learning time they have, but then also the cafetorium itself would actually also act as an opportunity for the community to have another place to go ahead and convene and to meet and to do different activities. It also ties in directly with 233. 233 just built that big performing arts. And so this would also tie into that because it would be performing arts. So now we're having middle school doing performing arts, which ties right into 233, the high school doing performing arts. Then the other part that it actually does, it would allow us to prepare cooked meals. So right now, one of the things that's actually something that I'm very concerned about is the price of hot lunches and the price of meal preparation at total. So what we could possibly do is turn a cafetorium into a kitchen that would then serve the other 4 elementary schools. However, to do that, then we also have to do some things, getting back to all the needs of other schools. We actually have to go ahead and prepare some kitchen spaces for some of those elementary schools. So if we could do that, we could actually serve multiple purposes and get a lot done. It could be something for the community, something for the children, something for learning. And again, it's just multi-purpose, but it has a big price tag. So that's one of the things that I'm actually always very concerned about and would like to see addressed in the next 4 years. Second, again, for David Linnear, would be early childhood. So I believe that fundamentally what we need to do is try to get children back in schools as early as possible. So we're not just talking about in kindergarten, and even pre-K. I'm trying to get them at age 3 to 5 and give a program that actually goes ahead and allows them to get going earlier so they actually can work harder and faster to get up to speed. So when they get to first grade and kindergarten, they take off. Now you see the achievement gap start to close because now they've actually got a head start in getting things rolling. One of the things that I find interesting is that recently a lot of other large politicians are starting to recognize the fact that we need to start getting our children in school earlier. I'm a big proponent of it. So going back to the price tag, where do you put it? You got to build it somewhere. Right now, all the schools, all those buildings are being used. All the classrooms are being used. You got to put it somewhere, so we have to build something. I have some ideas on that, which I won't get into right now. But again, it's going to take money. Then the other part about it is that we live in a district where we also are called a feeder school to the high school. So we're 161. Then there's also 153. 153 is going to have the same needs. So maybe we can go ahead and find some way to collaborate and do something collaboratively and then get it, funnel it back into where it's one particular building that's centralized because transportation now comes in. Where do you build it at? Do you put it, somewhere near Chicago Heights? Do you put it somewhere, near the western area? Where do you put it? Do you put it somewhere near Homewood? So we have to figure all that out. And then how big do you build it? Because we also don't want to take away from some of those great child care facilities that are currently around, like Bright Star. So we're not trying to go ahead and stop them from also operating, but as our neighborhoods grow, as we're starting to bring more children into the neighborhood and more families, we have to offer them greater facilities. And it just can't be a half-a-day facility. These parents are working parents, so they need to have an opportunity to go ahead and leave their children in school all day. So we have to find a way to do that. So those are the types of things, again, I would like to see done, and I'm going to try to go ahead and fight for them. But again, that's going to cost money. Right now, the state of Illinois is trying to pass a budget, and that budget actually includes putting much more money into the state's educational systems. And at the top of the priority list for the governor is actually early childhood. So one of the plans that I'd like to go ahead and talk more with not only the board, but our administration about is possibly seeking some types of funds from the state of Illinois. But in order to do that, now we've got to work with the legislators. So that means we've got to go ahead and talk to Representative DeLuca, Representative Will Davis. We've got to talk to Senator Napoleon Harris. We've got to talk to all of the people who also are part of this district. And we've got to try to find a way to find those funds. So there are multiple streams that we kind of have to look at to try to, but we've got to do collaborative efforts, which is why, again, I go back to 153 and then possibly 233, also saying, hey, let's all try to figure out some way to make this happen, because ultimately we all gain. What I think of our board is that we have mutual respect and understanding professionally that we are here to all accomplish the same mission, which is to try to advance the school district, to try to go ahead and do things that are for the betterment of our communities. I think because we start right there as a common thread, that even though we may see different angles of how to attack a problem, we can all find common threads and commonalities, and that's our final outcome, and we strive for that. Individually, what I try to do is I try to look at what are those things that I am passionate about in particular, that I really want to see changes to. And those are the things I'm going to really try to, I'm not going to say push, but I'm going to really try to highlight and try to show that there's a possible need and more awareness to that area, if that makes any sense. So I think that we all kind of do that. And so it's not so much that we fall into our lanes, but we try not to go ahead and just all harp on one area, if that makes sense. The one thing that I'm gonna say is this: we can't do this alone, and I'm almost imploring, I'm almost begging parents to please get involved. That involvement doesn't have to be anything grandiose. It doesn't have to be anything spectacular. It doesn't have to go ahead and bring out the lights. It might just be, can you go ahead and spend time at the table with your child doing their homework? Can you go ahead and bring them to school to just see what their classmates look like? Just be involved. The thing that I think makes Homewood a community is that we can work together. But if you're new to the area and you don't understand that, I get it, but we need the parents involved. I think a lot of what's happening is that you start to see children sort of emulate their parents. So if the parents start to go ahead and break off, then the children start to break off. So when it comes to social, emotional learning, if they don't see that we work together as a collective, then that's not helpful. If there's one thing that we're trying to do, we're trying to bring everybody into it, not just the child, but the whole family into it. Flossmoor is a diverse community of families. We're diverse in terms of our culture, we're diverse in terms of our ethnicity, and we're diverse in terms of our economics. And so there's opportunities here, and the beautiful part about it is we all try to work together. So again, if there's one thing I'm asking parents, please get more involved. However you want to do it, whatever's comfortable with you, but get more involved so that we can actually have better children, we can have better schools, better outcomes. We can all just get together and do more.
What do you think the board can do to try to move that towards that goal more?
That's good. That's something I actually have continued and will continue to fight for. I think all we can do is continue to try to communicate, to let the parents know that there are options and opportunities. I think we can do things like we're doing right now. If anyone sees this piece, please listen to this piece. So broadcast it, scream it, just run up and down. But parents, we need you at the table. We can't do this without you. This is not just a drop off and let the school handle it. You have to help us, if that makes any sense. And so that would be the kind of thing. So I'll give you an example. So one of the problems that we're having is with traffic flow. Okay, so a lot of the parents, I understand we all have things to do. And so I understand you're more important than everybody else. We're all trying to get the same place. We're all trying to get the same things done. let's work cooperatively. So, so build in enough time where, okay, I've got to drop off my child and whatnot, but in a safe manner where you're not running over somebody, you're not causing an accident, you're not creating a traffic jam. Just those are the types of things. And then watch this. Be willing to say, sorry, your turn, I can back off. It's the social skills that are so basic and simple. If we can just do those types of things, we'd just be a much better community, and we can make a whole lot of things happen a lot better.